Hey, Foot Clan, we are so excited to bring you the bigger, badder, better Ultimate Draft Kit for 2019, and you can get it right now at ultimatedraftkit.com for the pre-order price before it releases June 1st. Get in there. You'll get access to all the player data you could ever want. Rankings, 100-plus player profile videos, Matt Harmon's reception perception, the brand new app right there on your phone, and more. Check it out at ultimatedraftkit.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from pristineauction.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. Ice and fire.
Yes.
Ice and fire on the show today.
Ice and fire.
Ice and fire, we debuted this segment, the featured segment on today's show. We debuted that on last year's live tour. And it was a wonderful success.
Probably the best thing we've ever done.
People often on the Footcast, our Thursday show, they say they literally come to the channel and just say, please play that drop.
Yes.
Please just play it.
After that, don't say anything. Just play the drop.
Play it multiple times. So that's on today's show. For all intents and purposes, this is our kind of individual super early sleeper, super early bust picks.
Sure. No, it's our ice and fire players.
Because we do have a very exciting end to the Game of Thrones universe coming on Sunday. And so we will. Jason, you doing okay?
I'm still not over anything.
We're supposed to say spoiler alert.
Yes.
That's what the nice people say. If you haven't watched it, if you're a fireman, as Mike pointed out.
Firefighters.
Firefighters are, I guess, part of their job.
They're people,
you're not allowed
too.
to watch Game of Thrones until 4 days later.
Well, to be fair, my cousin's a firefighter. I know what he does at the firehouse.
No, you did say you got some feedback from firefighters that you shout out to the diligent firefighter who doesn't just, like us, watch Game of Thrones the moment it comes live.
Am I right?
We heard from one person in France who takes a little extra time. That's because people in France, it's a 30-hour work week and the naps.
The TV signal has to go all the way over there.
Oh, that's a ways.
Yes.
That's not just
we
down the street.
We send it by boat.
Really?
Yes.
In big reels?
Yes. But there's only one reel, and then they have to duplicate it. It's a huge mess.
I did not know any of that, Mike.
Learn about France, man.
All right, we do have a great quick question to start the show. It's a little bonus. Regressor Impress bonus. We had the Regressor Impress show on Tuesday. We did not talk about
Lockett.
Yes, Tyler Lockett. We brought up the fact Doug Baldwin, he's retiring in Seattle. Great career. But we didn't talk about the fantasy implications, the fantasy impact of the retirement of Doug Baldwin. Tyler Lockett, I heard Mike call him the Loch Ness Monster yesterday because he is just an enigma, a mystery.
And it was a clever pun.
Correct. So there was also another quote from Mike. He said, Tyler Lockett's 2018 season haunts my dreams.
Well, here's the thing, because I've talked about it for a while of how just going off of the raw statistics and how they just skyrocketed to where he got the same targets, the same receptions, but his catch percentage and yards and touchdowns just went through the absolute roof. And then someone had asked me, well, what happened with his air yards? And if you're not familiar, air yards, you're just measuring the ball in the air. I mean, these aren't like scored or anything, but it helps you identify what's happening with a wide receiver. A lot of air yards is very, very positive, and you know that they're going to eventually hit. And it's all the players that actually have more receiving yards than air yards. Makes complete sense. You have Michael Thomas, Julian Edelman, Adam Humphries, Cole Beasley, PPR guys who are yards after the catch, they're getting it short, and then they're adding on after the ball has traveled through the air.
Not Deshaun Jackson,
right,
who's going deep.
Mike Evans, just huge air yards.
Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, that's the thing is last year somehow Tyler Lockett, who generally speaking has double the amount of air yards than he does receiving yards, had more receiving yards than air yards. It's literally impossible what he did.
You're not handling this well.
No.
You're gonna go talk to somebody. We've already arranged it. You're gonna sit down once a week, talk through your Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson feelings.
I feel like he feels about Tyler Lockett how I feel about Danny.
Like from Game of Thrones?
Yes. I can't handle what's happened to Daenerys.
I cannot handle what Tyler Lockett did because more from the projecting him into next year, and now you have some reports coming out, like Evan Silva's tweeting out. It sounds like from Seattle that Tyler Lockett is going to be the slot guy now. Like, what is happening?
Huge problems projecting Seattle in general.
Massive.
You have a very compelling case for regression based on the analytics of Tyler Lockett, except that if that regression happens, but it is counterbalanced by the fact Doug Baldwin retires, by the fact he moves into the slot and maybe receives higher quantities of targets and more total receptions.
Yeah, the slot news breaks everything.
All of this makes it very difficult to predict regression. In our Ultimate Draft Kit, we make a number of picks for sleepers, breakouts, values, busts. Lockett was written on our board as a question mark around the bust category, and we couldn't do it because of the removal of Doug Baldwin. I don't even like looking at Tyler Lockett's consistency charts as an indicator of anything, because this was a player who has had injury issues, he's been young and has been an ascending talent in the NFL, going through changes of offense in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't even read into 2015, 16, and 17 because it's just too far in the past.
If this is a regress or impress, obviously the data says that he should regress, but I would actually go the other way, which is rare. Usually I'm always siding with the data. I go with impress because look at what Matt Harmon has always thought. When he charts him out, he's always, since, rookie year Tyler Lockett said, look, this is a really good wide receiver. Now, if you have a really good wide receiver who is now the number one, undisputed, with a Hall of Fame quarterback in his prime, I mean, what more do you want than a really talented wide receiver and a really talented quarterback? I realize that they're not a high passing volume team, but Russell Wilson's going to get the job done, and he's going to do that with Tyler Lockett. So I'm in on Tyler Lockett for 2019.
And the thing that we have to remember, too, we were a little bit shocked at what Seattle did last year. This was a player for fantasy purposes that was the 44th, 61st, 58th going into last year. Those were his fantasy finishes for 3 consecutive years. And then he got paid by Seattle. You remember that?
Yes.
It was almost as though they knew
the future.
Not only that they were going to utilize him in conjunction with that big paycheck, but just that what was on the table, like Doug Baldwin's future, not secure. They obviously went out and drafted DK Metcalf. I'm sitting here going, okay, how much of an impact will Metcalf have compared to a guy like, Gary Jennings, 4th-round draft pick? You just don't know who's going to emerge, but you know who Tyler Lockett is. So It's an interesting case. Mike, let us know if you work through some of the demons at some point in time. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter. I'm going to give you all of the handles. At the FF Ballers is the show handle. At Andy Holloway, that's mine. Jason at JasonFFL. Mike, you can follow the Hitman himself at FF Hitman. The website is thefantasyfootballers.com. And one thing I wanted to mention, we appreciate all the reviews that we've seen coming in on Apple Podcasts. They do a lot for the show. So if you enjoy what you're listening to, if you're excited about us moving to 3 days a week, 5 days a week in the season, please head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. And if you're interested, if you're in Chicago, if you're in San Francisco, New York, Phoenix, and you want to come see the show live, you can go to ballerslive.com, get your tickets. They are going quick. There aren't any left in Los Angeles. So if you're in one of those cities, head over there. Let's talk about some news.
News and notes from around the league, presented by Sleeper.
All right, let's talk about Colts tight ends, gentlemen.
Ooh.
Not to be outdone, Eric Ebron. He read the report about Jack Doyle expected to be ready from camp with the hip injury. Well, Eric Ebron is also on the mend from a groin injury.
I feel like I missed this in the world.
Everybody did.
I mean,
This is the first I've heard of it. And when I saw beat reporters talking about it,
You guys don't subscribe to the Groin Index, the newsletter? It was all over that.
Man.
I actually don't recommend. I don't
for the Groin Index.
I don't recommend subscribing to that. I really don't.
my groin index.
You think you want it and then you don't. But
Groinindex.com.
you
Don't
registering
do
it? Please don't. Eric Ebron, no, nobody knew about it. This happens every offseason, right? You get a handful of players that, they went under the knife to get something taken care of. What does it matter? I mean, what is the impact for you?
Well, the impact is probably nothing. It's very positive for my narrative that Eric Ebron will be a nice player. I'm going to talk about him later.
We already said you're supposed to say spoiler. You're spoiling the rest of the show, Mike.
Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, anything else to add?
I mean, look, it's not. You don't want players coming off of injury, so it's in the negative column for Ebron.
All right, NFL Network's Mike Garoppolo confirms Bill Belichick's going to be the defensive coordinator for the team in 2019. That means there will not be a head coaching candidate coming out of the defensive coordinator position next year. Tyler Eifert, he has been essentially a full go in offseason workouts. We've all been through our initial rankings for the 2019 fantasy football season. Tyler Eifert is my highest-ranked Cincinnati Bengals tight end.
He's mine as well.
But that put him in the 15 range as a sleeper tight end candidate?
Look, if you're going to completely punt the tight end position and take a tight end with your last pick, I'm saying it again, Tyler, you could do worse than going into week 1, seeing if Tyler Eifert can be healthy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Albert Wilson sidelined to start OTAs.
That's expected.
Yeah, it's just Albert Wilson for fantasy purposes is a dangerous.
Yeah,
I would go further and say Miami.
What did I say?
Wow.
You said Albert Wilson?
See,
Miami in general. You're saying
Yes.
you're taking Wilson, you're expanding it to Stills and to Parker and to.
There's no surefire. I mean, I like Drake. I'll take Drake and nothing else.
Love the Drake. The Cleveland Plain Dealers Mary Kay Cabot reports Duke Johnson will participate in OTAs. It's amazing how many times this has to be reported that he will be playing for the team he's on. That is not a good sign for him for fantasy purposes.
When he demanded a trade, it was one of those things where, okay, you go out, sign Kareem Hunt. I don't want to be here. I want to be involved. But clearly the team is saying, look, you're going to be involved. You are part of the plan. We need you. You're going nowhere. So he has no choice.
To be fair for Duke, when he did this the first time, when he made a bit of a scene, if you recall, when he basically deleted his Twitter, and it was this really strange passive-aggressive social media attack.
It worked out.
The contract came in right after that.
So he could disappear to another team?
Well, just saying, I don't blame him for going back to the well when it worked the first time.
It's fair. If teams they go under social pressure,
yes,
and they bend. All right, what about this news? Because this broke this morning.
So bizarre.
The Jets have fired their GM.
And their VP of personnel.
Yeah, both these guys were the ones that orchestrated the trade up for Sam Darnold. They orchestrated all of the offseason signings of Le'Veon Bell and C.J. Mosley and the big acquisitions. And they're gone. They're done. And reports are coming out all over the place about Adam Gase not wanting to sign Le'Veon Bell.
Uh-oh.
Because the honest truth was this, and we've said it all offseason, we knew he'd get paid.
Because it only takes one.
But because it only takes one team. But nobody wants to spend that kind of money on the running back position, no matter how good you are. I mean, Adam Gase, he's got this weapon now. He has no choice. But he's the interim GM now.
Yeah, he's Mr. Butthole's kicking people out of the organization.
Now, look, we're in just the realm of speculation and he said, she said stuff coming out of New York. Do you believe Adam Gase did not want to do this vehemently? And do you think this affects things at all? Like, if Adam Gase didn't want him, will he really really say, okay, I'm giving you 20-plus carries a game. I'm giving you 6 targets a game.
If there is a coach who would take a talented player who's clearly best and not just give him runway to do his job, I think he got the name for a reason. So
It's almost like he's done it before.
It's
Shout out to Kenyon Drake,
Yeah. So no, look,
former guest of the show.
But
as of now,
but
I
do
am
you
not.
legit-
As of now, I am not changing
Okay.
my rankings. I have Le'Veon Bell with a healthy workload. The money dictates that. The talent should dictate that. But we can't just ignore the fact that there's
Well,
a reason he got the moniker, and it could happen again.
Well, and the thing is if you don't have this report, you at least believe Gase has a vision for bringing him in. You would have thought he was the driver. He says, I need this guy. He's got to be a part of my offense. I want to use him in this way. If it was a middling running back and you found this out, I would be more concerned. Because it's Lev Bell and the money, like Jason said,
the guy
less
who
concerned.
gave him that money, he gone.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
Mikey.
Lev Bell's there. So we'll see what happens. Be sure to play on a fantasy sports platform that does not suck. That is key.
Yeah.
Check out the Sleeper app, modern design, infinite customization, support for redraft, dynasty, and keeper leagues. As always, our news brought to you by the Sleeper app. Gentlemen, before
you psyched
our main
me
event,
out. My body was ready.
I know. I want to tantalize for but 60 seconds more. I want to thank HelloFresh for supporting today's show. Do you guys like food?
I love food. I love food.
Do you like
more than you two guys?
Do you
I love
like
food more
food
than
that
I love you.
tastes good?
I even more than regular food.
Do you like food that comes together in like a maximum of 30 minutes so you don't have to wait?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It doesn't require a lot of cleanup?
Yep.
Even better.
This is what HelloFresh specializes in. HelloFresh, all their meals come together in 30 minutes max. They've got plans like classic and veggie and family, and you can get out of that recipe rut. You can start cooking outside your comfort zone. I mentioned it before. My sister became obsessed with HelloFresh and found a passion for cooking she didn't know she had just from the recipes in HelloFresh and getting the variety. For $80 off your first month of HelloFresh, you can go to HelloFresh.com/footballers80 and enter the code footballers80. That's HelloFresh.com/footballers80 and enter the code footballers80 for $20 off your first 4 boxes.
I'm starving.
Yeah. Well, get a load of this.
Ice and fire.
Now listen. If you were playing this through your iPhone
Your
or
hi-fi.
Android, or your Android speaker, just you've got it on. You're in the bathroom. You got it playing through your phone. Stop it. Go back. Put the headphones in. Sit in a good.
Go back to the bathroom with the headphones in.
But that's fine. That'll work.
That'll work.
And play that drop over. Well done, Mike.
Thank you.
I don't know
Ice-
how you came up with the music, but it was great.
Yeah, ice and fire. A lot more fire than ice on the last episode. Let's put it that way. But we're going to make the little thematic transition into fantasy football here. Pick an ice pick and a fire pick for 2019. These are fun.
Yes.
These are exciting. I'm going to start.
All right.
And we're going to bring the ice first, right? You deal with the Night King first, and then you deal with the innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
My ice pick, and there were several that I was looking at, but I don't know if it can be any icier than New York City for the football giants. And I actually think Golden Tate could underwhelm in a big way this year. Golden Tate's kind of track record in fantasy football in the National Football League has been yards after the catch, right? You just brought up the air yards versus Golden Tate multiple times has led the league in yards after the catch.
Yep.
He's always going to catch the ball 6-7 yards away from the line of scrimmage. That's just his historical average. But is that going to be enough for fantasy owners in New York? He's a new addition to that offense. And if he's great, gentlemen, do you realize why?
Targets. I mean, he has to get volume.
From whom?
Eli?
Eli Manning. If he's great, Eli Manning is playing a part in that symphony.
Or the tight end who's going to come play quarterback.
Daniel Jones.
Oh,
right.
that's his name.
And so, 3 or 4 touchdowns, the ball inaccurately or occasionally thrown to him 6 or 7 yards from the line of scrimmage. I think that you have a real wasteland situation that's possible in New York with the pass catchers.
Well, and just to add to your
Sure,
point,
go for it.
Think about what the defenses are going to be doing against the New York Giants that they couldn't do against when he was, in his heyday with the Lions, right? You've got Galladay or Marvin Jones, or you got people stretching the field, going long. Now it's like, okay, where's the defense focused? They're all up at the line. They're like, go ahead, Eli. They're trying to stop Saquon. They're trying to, so that short stuff, those screens, there's going to be a lot of defenders in that area for Golden Tate to have to break through and get those yards after the catch.
And he's not old. Like, Golden Tate's not old, but he's 30 years old, and he's been around the block a few times. He wasn't very relevant in Philadelphia, and I'll give him the pass on that because midseason transition, whatever you want to say. But he's not a player that's going to be a guarantee to show up in the end zone. And if he's bad, I find a lot more reasons why he would be bad. Low pass volume. Eli Manning could be a problem. He could transition to Daniel Jones. Saquon, Sterling Shepard, Ingram could receive enough of a low pass volume offense to kind of reduce him into a fantasy disappointment. And so, it's just something that I think could be a deceptive pick going to a new team and not knowing what Golden Tate's really going to be. And a lot of times people say somebody has to be fantasy relevant, right, from an offense or from a wide receiver core. But there are wastelands in fantasy football.
Sometimes there are.
Miami's receiving core has often been a wasteland in recent years, and I just don't know how much I can expect from Golden Tate. That's why he's in my ice pick as of May 15th.
Oh, and I am totally on board with this because it's volume. You have to have volume for Golden Tate. I mean, he was in the league for 4 years before he went to Detroit, and fantasy players actually cared who Golden Tate was, and that's when he took off. And it's not that they won't give a player that target volume because Odell Beckham, he seasons of 130, 158. Like, if Golden Tate's getting 158 targets, you're happy. But the difference is Odell Beckham is giving you 15 yards of reception, 13.5 yards per reception. Can the Giants afford to give a player who's only giving you averaging 10 yards of reception that type of target volume? Like, can the offense sustain drives living that type of a life? And I'm not sure that they can.
All right. Mike, Jason, you have to pick an ice player who's going.
I've got a beautiful ice player. And I don't mean
Legit
the pick is great.
Right.
I just mean it's handsome.
Like he's been sculpted out of a block of ice.
Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, come on now.
I know people are
49er
like
fans are
Oh,
disappointed
I know.
in
They're throwing tomatoes at their television screens.
Handsomer. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Why are they throwing
or
tomatoes?
Jon Snow.
Because we're on the television screen. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
I don't think Jon Snow is actually that handsome.
What?
He's not tall enough, man.
Have you seen him?
You're sizist.
Go watch. This isn't a sizist thing from me. Go watch the Saturday Night Live where Kit Harington hosted, and then see him without his beard.
Go ask any woman in America.
No, I'm just
And I
saying.
think they want.
Watch him without the beard, and you go, oh.
I feel like a poll needs to go up.
You need.
Is he good?
That's a good poll.
I'm putting a poll up.
All right, you
Oh,
work
yeah,
on
very
that
important.
important stuff while I talk about silly fantasy football. Here's the thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. He could be outstanding. He could light the world on fire. We have seen in small bursts incredible play. When he came over in the trade to San Francisco and he had his the games where he took the team that wasn't winning and he said,
Made
no,
them win.
we're not going to lose anymore. He was on pace in that stretch for 5,000 yards. So there is plenty of reason why people are all hyped. They're excited. Now they go out and they get some great options in the draft. I think Deebo Samuel is a fantastic wide receiver prospect. I think Jalen Hurd is really interesting. You have George Kittle. We all know I love Dante Pettis. So there's a lot of reasons why Jimmy Garoppolo could both succeed and a lot of reasons why people are super hyped. So why am I saying this is my ice player right now? It's basically because the NFL's changing for fantasy quarterbacks. It used to be where Alex Smith and those type of players, they're rushing for 200 yards, and it's like, wow, you don't realize how much value that adds. 200, get out of here with your 200 yards. Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen. 200 yards is nothing for rushing now.
Game. Am I right?
Right. And so this is a quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo who, he's not a rushing. He was somewhat mobile. We saw that on the knee injury.
Oh.
But coming off of the ACL injury, I doubt he's really going to be trying to be the hero on running plays. So let's give him, 125 rushing yards or 100 or, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
If that's the case, and that will be the case, you are going to have him throwing a lot of touchdowns, period. When he was on that incredible 5,000 yard pace, he was on pace for 19 touchdowns.
That was 2 seasons ago. The end of
ago.
the season after the trade.
And here's the reason. Look, I think the future is bright, but I think this year with Dante Pettis and Deebo Samuel and Jalen Hurd and there's going to be some learning curves for these players. And I think when it comes to the offense of the San Francisco 49ers, they are stronger at running back with Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida.
Yeah,
and
3 weapons.
And Tevin Coleman. And my name is Jeff. Jeff Wilson is there still. So if you look at the history of Kyle Shanahan, who is an offensive mastermind, he's great. He has a long history of having incredible passing yardage offenses. When he was back with Houston, 2 times he was a top 10 passing yardage team. When he was with Washington, he had a top 10 passing yardage team. When he was with Atlanta, 2 times top 10 passing yardage team. This is what he does. But so many of those years, you had the passing touchdowns, middle of the league, 23, 27, like bottom of the league.
Which won't be enough in today's NFL.
Exactly.
Is your argument.
So my point is, if he's going to be back there as a passing quarterback, he'll have the yardage. He's going to have touchdowns to capitalize on where you're drafting Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's more in the mid-20s touchdowns this year. 24, 25 touchdowns, you're not going to be excited about that. He's going to need to be up at the 33 touchdown mark to be like, yeah, he caught
relevant.
fire.
Let's move to fire picks now.
Are you trying to skip mine?
I was trying to skip yours.
Well, first
I
of
don't
all,
like it.
First of all, Jimmy Garoppolo is off to a commanding lead already over Jon Snow.
Told you.
In the handsomeness part. So my ice player, I already spoiled it apparently. My ice player is going to be Eric Ebron, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, I mean, coming off a groin injury, it just gets worse and worse for Eric Ebron. But here's the thing. Since the year 2000, tight ends that have a season with 10 or more receiving touchdowns, it's 13 players. So not a huge list. Names you would expect. Some names you would not expect. There are certainly outlier seasons like Mercedes Lewis, Visante Shanko. You guys remember him from the Vikings?
Yeah.
So then I narrowed that down. Okay. Tight ends that were able to follow up that season with at least 7 or more touchdowns. That chops the list down to 5 players, and those are exactly the names you would think of. Gronk, Jimmy Graham, Antonio Gates, Vernon Davis, Antonio Gonzalez. That's it. Those are the players. I gave him
those
full
are great.
name.
Those are basically like
those are Hall of Fame level tight ends.
Those are like first-round NFL draft pick, like top 10 NFL draft pick type of talent.
What do you think of Eric? No. What do you think of Eric Ebron? You putting Eric Ebron in the Hall of Fame already?
No, I'm just saying he was a top 10 NFL draft pick talent because he was picked top 10 in the NFL draft.
But so here's then on top of that, those were full-time players. Eric Ebron was not a full-time player when Jack Doyle was on the field. Game number 1, 45% of snaps. Game 2, 26.2. Jack Doyle gets hurt. Eric Ebron's playing pretty well. Why would they go back to Jack Doyle and cut snaps from Eric Ebron? Except that's exactly what they did. Week 8, Eric Ebron drops to 21% of the snaps and then down to 38% of the snaps in Week 9.
So what does ice mean to you with Eric Ebron?
Because ice means that
last year 13, right? 13 touchdowns?
Yes.
Is that what you said? 7 were before the bye. The rest came after the bye.
But
what does it translate to for fantasy owners? Because I like the argument. Doyle, and Funchess. Funchess is a rival, big body, goal line guy.
Wow, I don't even have to make the argument.
Well, the point is that the touchdowns could come down, but what does that equate to? Because obviously a weapon that just did it, that just put up 13 touchdowns,
sure,
they don't sit back and go, boy, that was a little too much. Let's go ahead and dial it back. We don't want to score them many times. So what is the realistic expectation? Is it 8 touchdowns? Is it 6?
I think if he hits 8, I would be surprised. Like I put that threshold at 7 for a reason. Because I do not think Eric Ebron can hit 8.
Now, you realize that the weeks 8 and 9, the weeks you brought up where his
I'll give you
went
the
down,
stats.
he was on pace for 24 touchdowns.
Look, here's the crazier numbers, because this is why it was hard to buy into Eric Ebron, because in games when Jack Doyle was playing, he was averaging 3 receptions a game and 1.16 touchdowns. So 3 catches over a touchdown per game. My
33%.
My point is
rate.
That's what you're betting on. I think Jack Doyle comes back. I think he is the primary tight end because he's just a better all-around player. And if you're taking Eric Ebron where you have to in that like 5th, 6th round, what you are betting on is 3 receptions and 1 touchdown a game.
I have loved Eric Ebron since his college days. I've been a big believer in his talent, his speed, size, ability to beat defenders. And so I am on team Eric Ebron, but the points you bring up are extremely valid. I have hesitation. Like, I have him as a very high-risk player this year because for him to repeat for where he's being drafted – it's going to be difficult. And so even if the Eric Ebron truther can get behind what you're saying and be like, yeah, I'm definitely not drafting him at, in an early round when he's going to be the 5th tight end off the board. Like, I'm not putting my eggs in that basket, then you probably shouldn't.
Well, his year could very much be ice and fire.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably going to have some games that he has the 2-3 touchdown potential.
And what I'm not saying is he can't do it because he did it last year. I'm just saying I'm going to bet on the side of probability
that he cools off,
that a player is not going to average 1.16 touchdowns per game as the secondary tight end when a team is added all over their offense.
You're right. He'll be the primary tight end. Good point, Mike. Thank you.
All right.
Good luck with 1 groin.
How many do you have? You got 2?
I don't know.
Groins,
as I was saying it, I was not sure.
You got 2 groins.
Is it one big, like a U-shaped
Wait, you have
muscle?
2 groins?
Is it 1 groin?
You have
well, you
one
can
groin.
pull your groin on either side.
How many groin
but did
muscles?
you just
right?
Is that half a groin?
I think you have to have a groin on each
Hold
side.
on. Groinindex.com.
Yeah, go to the newsletter.
Please don't.
Thegroinindex.com.
Please do not go to that website.
No, please do not. Jason, it's taking you way too long to figure out how many groins you have.
Well, yeah, you have 1 groin. There's a group of groin
There's just
muscles,
sides.
so I'm really not sure.
Good luck with half a groin. There we go.
You have 2 groin muscles, 1 on each side. There's a very
Oh, yes. No,
yes.
It's really easy if you look at the picture.
It's your adductor longus muscle. All right?
You got to look at this, Mike.
It's the most apparent
It's the easiest, most clear
diagram of the
It's
2.
like,
Yes,
how
that's the
many-
one I have up.
How many?
Now you know.
Not a doctor.
Yeah. All right. Here's a player. Here's my at which one of those 2 groins did Ebron have
Definitely
surgery
the
on?
left.
The
Had to
left.
be the left.
Oh no, he scored all his touchdowns on the left side of his groin. All right. This is derailed. Mike Williams. Brooks.
Okay.
How you doing over there?
I'm doing great.
You in on Mike Williams? He's my fire pick for 2019. There are players you watch on film. There are players that give you both anecdotal and analytical reasons to like them. Mike Williams is one of those for me. Guys, you got to remember, this is the 7th overall pick in the NFL draft.
Sure.
A couple of years ago. This is not, and those are the kind of players that emerge as fantasy talents. Tyrell Williams is gone. Everything else is in an established, comfortable place in Los Angeles with the Chargers. And Mike Williams last season, double-digit touchdowns. He is figuring things out. And one of the things that doesn't show up in your general game log and stat sheet that you look at as a fantasy player, he had a major contribution in the playoffs against New England. 11 targets against New England. I love seeing that. 41 receptions, 600-plus yards from Tyrell, gone. Mike Williams was the wide receiver 10 from weeks 11 through 15. So you've seen upside at times. You're looking for upside with consistency with Mike Williams this year, and I think you're going to see an increase in target volume, an increase in total receptions, and I know this guy's going to find the end zone because he's enormous, great body control, great goal line threat. Love Mike Williams coming into the new year. I know I am the highest by far amongst the three of us on him, but I believe he will emerge this season, and you will be very happy with what you have to spend for him versus what you get from him in fantasy drafts.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mike Williams a lot. The reason that I've got him, as a slightly more questionable versus a breakout, a lot of reasons he could break out, talent, Tyrell Williams gone, but the fact that last year he had 11 total touchdowns, right? 10 receiving, I believe he had a rushing touchdown as well. You say, okay, is he going to go up from there? I mean, he's got the talent to do it, but Phillip Rivers had a very efficient passing, touchdown passing season last year. I don't think Phillip Rivers is going to throw for many more touchdowns than he did last season. So that's where my only question, maybe it's just a difference in how it comes. Maybe he gets more volume, touchdown stays the same, and then there he goes. He's risen in the rankings. I just worry, what if he comes down to 8 touchdowns? That'd be great. 8 touchdowns is a lot, but losing 2 off of last season, it hurts.
Yeah, you do. He is never going to be an 80, 90 catch guy. That's not the MO that you're going to get with Mike Williams. He has to be what Vincent Jackson used to be in San Diego, which is 67 to 75 receptions, big play, touchdown opportunities. You lose the 5 touchdowns with Tyrell. I think he can get back to 10, and that's all I need from Mike Williams because I think the other statistics go up. So I am projecting that only 66 targets last year. Those are going to rise.
Yeah,
with his mainline role in this offense.
The question for me is the fear of Hunter Henry, because I'm more worried about Hunter Henry eating into where Mike Williams performs best than Tyrell Williams. But if you look at the snaps, Mike Williams was not a full-time player. I mean, Tyrell Williams was on the field more than him. So now he's gone. Does that automatically turn into a substantial increase in targets when you have Hunter Henry there as well? So that's my hesitancy. I don't blame you at all.
I think it's fair because Tyrell was not 41 receptions. That's not a massive vacuum
and they're
situation.
Just much different roles in the offense.
But I think confidence-wise, you saw this with Phillip Rivers over the back half of the season, and this is why I say the anecdotal, the visual evidence.
Right.
Mike Williams is a gamer. He wants to win. And I love those players on my fantasy team because they go out and there were times like that rushing touchdown you talked about. He put the team on his back and won that game with his play alone.
I'm pretty sure he stole like Justin Jackson's touchdown on that one.
You're darn right he did.
I was very upset.
All right, fire.
Oh, get the drop ready, Andy. Get it ready. It's time.
Now, I've never heard of this guy or you speak of him, so tell me.
We've been here before,
No,
Jason.
no, we haven't. Look, I loved Kerryon. I talked Kerryon up as a talent. But if you remember last year, I said it's going to be the year after, after? Who says after? Like
you
after?
do, Jason Moore.
Last year I said, look, it's going to be next season when Kerryon really explodes.
Norks season.
I have to stick with my guns here because there's literally nothing that we saw to say anything except everything I said happened. He was unbelievable. No, would you say that Kerryon was easily the best running back on his team?
If I had to cast a Twitter vote, I might not put it as everything you said happened, but if I had to cast a Twitter vote in your favor with what you saw from Kerryon and projected for him or against you, I would cast it for you. He looks like a David Johnson-esque player on the field. He's multi-threat, and that is necessary for fantasy football. Explosivo. There's still a problem, and his name is Matt Patricia.
Actually,
and maybe Matthew Stafford.
I don't think those are problems for 2019, and here's why. If you look at my Kerryon Johnson. So here's the thing.
Oh, okie dokie.
Here's the thing. Kerryon Johnson last year was unbelievably efficient, right?
Yes.
5.4 yards per carry, great in the receiving game. He was a fantastic producer, did not have a lot of touchdown volume come his way. The Lions were not that good. And here's a big reason. You want to know why? A big reason why the Lions were not good? You say Matt Patricia, and you're half right. It was Matt Patricia and his great, strong, well-documented relationship with LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount and him were good friends from New England. LeGarrette Blount came over from New England because he was going to get the ball.
Froyo level?
I'll have Froyo every Tuesday. That was their routine. LeGarrette Blount played 16 games and got 154 carries. So people are like, oh, well, C.J. Anderson's there. C.J. Anderson's not getting more than 154 carries, but you want to know what C.J. Anderson might just actually do? He might help keep drives alive. Why would you give a guy the ball 154 times when he's averaging 2.7 yards per carry? LeGarrette Blount wasn't bad. He was unfathomable. Like, why would you keep giving this guy the ball? Every time that he was in there, drive stopped. They stalled. Now, I don't think they're going to give Kerryon Johnson the ball 300 times. They're going to use C.J. Anderson. But if you look at what happened the first couple weeks of last season, Kerryon Johnson was not very involved. He broke kind of in and then started getting more carries week 3. If you look from week 3 on with putrid LeGarrette Blount, Kerryon Johnson was already, this isn't like projecting forward, he was already on pace for 211 carries and 60 targets. Those numbers in year 2, now that he's the man, he's going in as the starter, they've signed his backup as opposed to last year who's going to compete with LeGarrette Blount, those numbers are going to go up from 210 and 60. He is extremely efficient. Their offensive line, they're getting a first-round draft pick back from health. I think that this is going to be the year that Kerryon breaks out. So, my fire pick, I know I've talked about him a lot. There's not much more I need to say other than this. I'm sticking with what I've been saying for 2 years. 2019 will be the year of Kerryon Johnson.
Do you have – so if there are two little alarm bells that go off for me, and you can speak to them briefly, and then we'll get into Mike's pick. I worry, do we think that Detroit is a better football team than the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, or Chicago Bears?
I do not think they are a better football team than those teams, no.
And so my concern is that a little bit like my Golden Tate argument, will the touchdowns be there to the degree that Kerryon can sufficiently break out?
100%. I have Kerryon down for 8 rushing touchdowns. That's not an exorbitant number. I actually have his utilization. I didn't move him very far up from the 260 that he was already on pace for last season. I think he's just so efficient and game-breaking.
There's hyper-talented players like David Johnson, though, who, when the offense did not do enough, you saw the swing in fantasy production.
Still RB10, though.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's my point. I think this offense isn't going to be great, but I think it's going to be better than it was last season. And
fire to be had.
Fire to be had.
All right.
What I forgot about Kerryon Johnson was just how fantastic the target volume was. I mean,
yeah.
You did see a very clear transition. If you're just going to do a box score hunt, LeGarrette Blount, once week 7 hit, 3 carries, 5, 6, when he was averaging right around double-digit carries. And that's when Kerryon Johnson really took over as the main guy, and he was averaging 5 targets a game. That's fantastic.
He's an explosive player, passes the eye test.
Look, Matthew Stafford's always passed to the running back.
Yes, he has.
Theo Riddick has been one of the leaders in the last several years. If Kerryon Johnson is on the field more, he'll have more targets. It's
Theo's
simple math.
still hanging out, though, right?
He is still hanging out.
All right, Mike, you get to finish this up. Your fire pick for the year.
My fire pick, we've talked about him a little bit. He's already got himself one of them fancy trademark fantasy footballers nicknames, David Montgomery, a.k.a. David Mopportunity.
Yes.
Mopportunity knocking?
It absolutely is. I want to just highlight a couple things about David.
You can't even say it, can you?
Well, just not every time.
Exactly.
He'll be mopping up the floor with defenses. Look, he's in the perfect situation. Do people realize last year Jordan Howard had the 6th most attempts at the running back position, 250. I mean, people may not realize how high of a number he had because they got kind of burned by him for fantasy. And Matt Nagy is trying his best to create the Kansas City Chiefs, where he was cutting his teeth there. He learned the Andy Reid system. And David Montgomery has received some comps to Kareem Hunt. You can look at Graham Barfield has a methodology called yards created, where he looks at these rookies coming in. He said David Montgomery had the most missed tackles per carry. He's a decent player. He can do everything that Matt Nagy wants him to do. And I was hearkening back to when Kareem Hunt had his breakout year, and there was that lull, and everyone freaked out. What is going on with Kareem Hunt? Once Matt Nagy took over the play calling, that's when Kareem Hunt saw more volume than he had seen that entire season. Matt Nagy's not afraid to use one guy. He wanted Jordan Howard to be that one guy and Tariq Cohen to be an auxiliary pass catcher here and there. But he wants a running back on the field who the defense has no idea what we're going to do, and Montgomery can work perfectly inside the passing game. I think the Bears are going to be a fantastic team. They're going to be in very positive game scripts more often than not. And David Opportunity, I am very excited for what he can do for fantasy purposes.
The Bears showed their hand. They literally turned the cards around and showed their hand when they drafted Montgomery because
traded up for him.
And because of how much they gave up to get him. It's not just he's a 3rd-round pick. You go, well, so what? They had no picks to work with. They had so few picks because of the Mitchell Trubisky trade and other trades, or the Khalil Mack trade. They just had no draft capital, and the little draft capital they had, they said, I'm using all of it to move up and make sure we get our guy.
How does Mike Davis, the signing in the offseason, and then Tariq Cohen's usage, because when he runs the football, he's a 4.4 a carry guy. He's only probably – you can only probably pencil him in for something like 120 carries on the season.
Well, 120 would be the most he'd ever gotten.
Well, yeah, but he's a young player who's now,
sure, but
you give a guy more carries because he earns them.
He had a chance last year.
Darren Sproles, you've seen that. He's had seasons where he doesn't get the ball a ton on the ground. You've had seasons where he gets it a lot.
Sure. For Tariq Cohen, I still see him as a sub-100 rushing attempt guy. And for Mike Davis, it's the Bears entered into the draft that they don't know what they're going to actually be able to do. I compare it very much to the Raiders went out. They added Isaiah Crowell. Mm-hmm. They still took a first-round running back. Now, Montgomery was not a first-rounder, of course, but these teams scoop up veteran players for low amounts of money because they're not 100% sure they're going to be able to get the player they want in the draft. So it's, to me, even though it was very quick, it seems more like a backup plan now at this point to me.
All right, that is it for Ice and Fire. Let's get into, Mike Williams' teammate is featured on this next segment.
Pristine deal of the day.
That's right. Keenan Allen signed Under Armour football cleat. A signed Keenan Allen cleat just sold for $65 yesterday on pristineauction.com. Doesn't get any better. I like that you're featured a few of these like non-jerseys, Brooks, because there's hundreds of jerseys on there, and they're amazing. We got them on the walls. But it's cool that they have things like an Adam Thielen pylon and a signed cleat, because those would just look very unique.
Got helmets. You got images. There's all sorts of cool things over there.
Images of helmets, though? Do they have any?
I'll bet there's images with helmets on them as they're wearing them in the game.
Are you going to head to the website after the show?
Yes, I'm doing it after the show.
All right. That is it for today's episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We're here to help you win your fantasy football leagues, and we'll be back on Tuesday unless you're at jointhefoot.com this afternoon.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.